somewhere else you've not seen before. Mind you, I've not been here for a while, and the last time I come it was dark, and it would have been probably 4 years ago now. This is Sherwood Pines, or as we used to call it, Clipstone Forest. Now Sherwood Pines is predominantly, as you would expect, mostly pines, mostly coniferous plantation run by the Forestry Commission, or as they prefer to be called now, Forestry England. But I'm just standing near what used to be the old car park. You used to drive down nearly 3/4 of a mile, and there used to be a car park area that has since been blocked off because there was more cars nicked out of the car park than people ever returned to and drove out themselves. And just opposite there's a little section, little plantation of beech. And of course, I have a love for beech, and to be honest, you don't get this kind of effect looking through pines that often. Anyway, here for a wander around, see what there is. There's a road runs directly through the forest, and at one time you could drive right through from just the top side of Bilsort right through to Mansfield. It's known as Equine Road, but after the point where I am now, where the little car park is, or was, it did become something similar to a dirt track, but more similar to the surface of the moon, to be honest, because there were more potholes and craters in it. We've got a couple of buzzards up on the left, just out of shot. But anyway, this was the place to come to at one time for woodlark, and it was the only place in Nottinghamshire where woodlark occurred and where woodlark bred. And I remember sometime in the 1990s coming down and getting woodlark. There's been some areas of clearfell. In fact, you're looking at one now, and it's starting to grow back. They've not planted anything, it's just they've just sort of left it by the looks of it. So you've got sort of 2-year-old birch scrub developing now, but it's a lovely sky today. We've had bad weather the last 2 days. It's been really windy and there's been some heavy showers, but it's a beautiful sky, that is, isn't it? Told you it was our sky, didn't I? And it really is. It's a very clear atmosphere because the sky is extremely blue. There's no sort of haziness to it. And this is a big site. It covers a large area, Sherwood Pines. And I still think that there are glowworm sites to be found here. Glowworms are known from the pines, Sherwood pines, and all the sites, bar 2 if I remember right, are south of the Eakin Road, which dissects the pines into 2. For some reason, yeah, there's very little in the way of glowworms north of it. There has to be more, despite the site, all of the site being used for commercial forestry. And because of the forestry, the place has changed considerably from what it was. I said it's a long time since last visited here, and the last time we came in daylight, this was fenced off if I remember right, and had horses in it. I seem to think that they brought some Dartmoor ponies up, and they were in a fenced off compartment here, because I remember Dillis himself walked along the tree line on the left hand side there. And the main reason we never covered this area, I don't think anyone's covered it from an invert point of view, to be honest, and the main reason we didn't come, I suppose Sherwood was nearer, there's rarer stuff to find at Sherwood, but it was the car parking problem associated with Sherwood Pines. I still prefer to call this Clipstone Forest. I think Sherwood Pines, yes, and that's more around where Centre Parks is to me, and at the side of Centre Parks. I think I'll always look on this as being Clipstone Forest. And it's full of buzzards. Years ago, somewhere here in Clipstone Forest, Sherwood Pines, whatever, was the site of Nottinghamshire's last sighting of adder. Never been seen since. There was a survey done in the particular area where they were last seen, but the habitat had been left to become overgrown, shaded out and unsuitable. So consequently, adders have died out in Nottinghamshire, and have been died out in Nottinghamshire for many years now. I don't think they are tucked away anywhere, even here. This is such a popular place for activities such as mountain biking, husky driving, that kind of thing, and lots of people walking, that they would have been seen in that time. And there is talk, I don't think it's widespread knowledge, but they are wanting to bring adders back. But aside from the reasons I mentioned regarding the dying out of adders on this site, there are obviously other factors as to why the adder wasn't able to move into new areas here. So there must be more reasons rather than just habitat as to why adder isn't found in Nottinghamshire. You would think when you see some habitat for adder up and down the country, you think that Sherwood Forest area would be overrun with them. But it isn't, and it never was. Well, I've just worked my way through to an edge of the forest. There's a field of maize actually that's been partially harvested, and it's quite a lot of insects. It's very warm here now. There's no breeze along this sheltered side. I'll tell you what, there is quite a lot of here today. Hornets. There's a lot of hornets that are patrolling the trees along this side, and there's this 7-spot ladybird for one. But there's quite a bit of insect activity, but a lot of it was like how this one was, sort of gathering the warmth of the sun. And there's numerous orb weaver spiders, a garden cross spider, Arrhenius diadermatus, quite a few 7-spot ladybirds, gorse shieldbug, green shieldbug, but notably hornets. There's a lot, say, patrolling this woodland edge, none of which are ever still. I wish I'd brought a plum with me now, and we could have attracted one down. Someone's nicked me ladybird. Oh, pinch out round here. Turn your back for a minute. This time of year, there's not a great deal of insect activity. A lot of, as I've already mentioned, we're doing what this spider's doing. Conserving energy by moving very little, absorbing the warmth of the sun, and waiting for something to come along. And here is said hornet, albeit briefly. Fabulous things. And I actually achieved an ambition of mine last year, and that was to get stung by one. I got stung on my back, and it didn't hurt as much as I thought it would. In that aspect I was rather disappointed, but that was probably the best place I could have been stung. I'd hate to be stung on the head and for my head to swell even more. This is the other end of an area that was compartmented off that I mentioned earlier on in the video, and this is where they put these few Dartmoor ponies. Pretty sure they were Dartmoor ponies, or Exmoor ponies. Put it this way, they were otters. In fact, I might have put a fiver on one of them at one time, and that's why it ended up here. And I don't know, I mean, that's a good few years ago. That's, well, probably getting on towards about 10 years ago. Nah, might not be quite that long ago when we were here in daylight that time, but it was a good few years. And this that I'm leaning on now, don't worry, Forestry Commission's not trying to fence me in. Take more than a bit of wooden fence to keep me locked in, I'll tell you, as they well know. I wonder why they took the horses away, whether they've done the job. They were brought in on the basis that they were ideal for the type of management of the area that they wanted, that they wanted them for. And looking at this, I mean, I don't know whether, knowing the Forestry Commission, they might have chucked some herbicide on at some time. I doubt it, but one thing that is different, because this at one time this was one large area of clear fell. There might have been a bit of a track through the middle of it. But one interesting thing is that there's no birch scrub over 90% of this cleared area. There is a bit just out here, a bit of oak in it as well. And there's no sign that the Forestry Commission or Forestry England, as they are now, have been and managed the birch. And it's quite a good area of grassland, to be honest. It's a really good area of grassy heath, and there's a lot of yarrow here. I might have a look for Yarrow Pug while I'm here. But there's also a lot of broom, which is this stuff. But it's a lovely spot here in the sun. I ought to have bought my costume. Still, don't want to frighten the wildlife away, do we? Well, there are larval cases, not too many, of Cauliflora argentula on these old yarrow seed heads. Well, a nice Arrhenius diadermatus. But yarrow pug larvae, they're easy to find just by looking directly on top of one. There's one here. So when you're looking down on top of a yarrow seed head, you can see how easy they are to spot. And certainly now, when in the first week of October, and this is the second one that I found, which is also full grown. So you need to get out if you want to try and find these on your local patch. You need to get out and about now. And if I move it around, you can see how obvious it is. Not forced to be everywhere, but it is obviously widespread throughout the county now. Yeah, it's created a nice bit of heathland, bit of heather growing there. Looks like there's 2 or 3 big patches of heather. The problem they're going to have in a couple of years' time is from the broom scrub. But it's a nice spot. Would certainly warrant an hour or two wandering around, or lurking as I like to call it, because that's what I usually do. I do love a good lurk, me. It's a fabulous blue sky. Not a cloud to spoil the view. Even on the ground. It's a nice view. An unspoiled view. Not anymore, it didn't. This is a nice spot. I like this bit. And I'll come here again for an hour or two. Part of the problem with a site like Clipstone Forest, Sherwood Pines, it's probably lost its original identity. And the species of invertebrates that gave it that identity. At one time, no doubt, it was mostly heathland, farmland, bit of farmland. And then 50 odd years ago, along came the Forestry Commission and planted thousands and thousands of pines, which, let's face it, are a crop. But it is destructive, the whole process of forestry. It's destructive when they're preparing the land. Then when the pines are growing, nothing else can really grow underneath them. Yeah, you get some bracken and some bramble. But under pines, even silver birch struggles to get a foothold sometimes. And so any specialist invertebrates that there were here before the implementation of this forestry will be long gone. There'll be no specialist invertebrates of oak. Probably the best order that would be here would be Diptera and Lepidoptera. Looking at it, there may be a few heathland specialists in the Coleoptera line, but unless it's a pine feeding species, you'd be in for a disappointing day. But I suppose now they've created this heathland area, it helps. Gives somewhere for heathland species locally to move into. But the sound of it at the moment now, it sounds more like an aerodrome. They're not stocked with camels. So I think we'll come here again next spring. Have a look round here and see what there is. There may well not be anything out of the ordinary at all, but we've found Yarrow Pug today, so that's something. It's new for the site. There must be something else here though. Spring it is.